Let's talk about the bizarre case surrounding an upcoming video game called The Day Before. The best way I can describe this game is The Division meets zombie apocalypse, essentially. And there's controversy surrounding this game because people don't know if it's even real. It's been hyped up quite a bit, but the marketing surrounding it has been a bit of a disaster, and now people are questioning whether this game is a scam. This whole situation reminds me a bit of Abandoned, the game being made by Blue Box, or being made, I put in quotes, because people don't know if that game is even real or coming out. The game initially leveraged the hype surrounding a theory that Abandoned might actually be a Kojima game, that he was pulling another PT or another Moby Dick Studios and Phantom Pain. Both times Kojima used the guise of an indie studio to present these games that turned out to be much more than what was initially advertised. Phantom Pain turned out to be Metal Gear Solid 5. PT turned out to be Silent Hills. We know for a fact now that Abandoned is not in fact a Kojima game. It's just an indie studio that's either actively going out of its way to drag people by their noses, or an indie studio that's so incompetent they're just not able to get their shit together. The Day Before is in a similar situation where it was hyped up quite a bit when it was first announced, and after a series of developments, people are questioning whether this is a scam or just incompetence. Plenty of questions surrounding whether this game will come out, if the game even exists. So let me break down exactly what happened. It all began 2 years ago, back in January 29th, 2021, when IGN uploaded the following announcement trailer for The Day Before. And this was after a number of little teases from Fantastic, the development studio, little clips that they uploaded on their YouTube channel. It wasn't until this announcement trailer was uploaded that the game really started to gain some traction. It garnered 2.1 million views, and with over 50,000 upvotes as of the recording of this video, it's clear that this trailer got a lot of engagement. Looking at the footage itself, you can see that the game does clearly seem to draw inspiration from The Division. So this character gets out of the vehicle, and the third-person shooter camera and the cover-based gameplay, all very reminiscent. Also reminiscent from The Division is the fact that this gameplay, the graphics, look a lot better than they will in footage that'll be shown years later. I'll get to that in a bit. But alongside elements that are reminiscent of The Division, there are survival elements that can best be compared to something like DayZ, I would say. The Division meets DayZ is the best way to describe this game. And the gameplay doesn't show a whole lot. It does show some gameplay mechanics. But in terms of what the gameplay loop will be, it would seem as though it's going to be about collecting resources, exploring the world, scavenging, and occasionally, you'll be engaged in combat. As you can see right here, there's some stealth gameplay, and there's some combat that's shown off. The combat looks like it needs some work, but people were generally visually impressed by the presentation, and they were looking forward to seeing more of this game, seeing it fleshed out. People seem intrigued by the idea of a Division-like game with zombie apocalypse backdrop and survival elements seeped in there. So this is kind of the initial impression that this game made. And from there on, we'd see a number of trailers be released, with IGN having uploaded this exclusive official gameplay trailer back in April 9th, 2021. You can see this trailer garnered even more of a positive reception, and it garnered more engagement with 5.5 million views and over 100,000 upvotes. The gameplay looks something like this, showing us some driving gameplay that then settles into boots on the ground gameplay. And definitely visuals look kind of neat. And I can certainly see this type of game appealing to a certain crowd. And then a few months later, on October 15th, 2021, we would get an official release date trailer that showed us more visuals of the game, especially where environments are concerned. A bit of gameplay, some of the landscapes and environments and interiors you'll be visiting. This mall looks pretty impressive, not gonna lie, assuming it is representative of the final game. There are questions about that. Again, I'll get to that in a bit. But mainly, people were excited to see this release date right here, June 21st, 2000 and, not 23, 2022. It wasn't long before this game became the most wish-listed game on Steam, which finally brings us to 2022. On January of 2022, we get this GeForce RTX 4K gameplay reveal trailer that essentially shows off graphics with RTX on. Not a whole lot to look at here, but some cool vistas for sure. Now, after the release of that trailer, it'd be a year before we'd hear from this game again in the form of this trailer from 2 months ago, from January 3rd, 2023, another 4K RTX on gameplay reveal that shows us more of the graphics and presentation of this game. Now, you will notice that for this trailer, the likes to dislikes ratio is lower than usual. And then optics surrounding the game became even worse when IGN released the following official gameplay trailer just a month ago on February 2nd, 2023. You can see right here a whopping 43,000 dislikes versus 18,000 likes. This gameplay trailer was even more severely mass downvoted, not only because of the way marketing has been screwing up and because of developments surrounding this game that made people question whether this game was even real, but also because looking at the gameplay here, there is a significant graphics downgrade that plenty of people pointed out. This very much felt like what The Division pulled, where their initial reveal looked far better than the game that actually shipped. There are already comparison videos showing us the difference between 2021 footage and 2023 footage. And you can see the lighting in the 2021 version is just vastly superior compared to the much flatter looking 2023 footage. Here's a side-by-side later in the video that really highlights what a huge difference there is between what was marketed back in 2021 when the game was announced and revealed versus seemingly the latest build of the game, which finally brings us to what happened between the uploads of those gameplay showcases and trailers. Why did sentiment shift so much? Why are people questioning whether this game is real or whether it's a scam? Initially, people were excited and developers were doing interviews with major outlets like IGN. This is an interview from March 17th, 2021, and they were expressing some of the things they wanted to convey with their latest gameplay. And they made the bold claim that in the day before, we reinvented everything from the in-game goals to the ways we approach the quality of the game mechanics. They were touting the day before to be as something pretty special. But then something happened on May of 2022, an unusual game delay. As reported here by IGN on May 5th, 2022, the day before, Steam's most wish-listed game shifts to Unreal 5, but gets a delay. Now, delays are commonplace in game development cycles. What made this particular delay so unusual is the fact that it happened a month before the release date of the game. The game was set to come out on June 21st, 2022. The delay happened on May 5th, 2022. And this wasn't just a we need to polish this game kind of situation. They decided to do something as drastic as switching engines to Unreal Engine 5 shortly before the game's launch. And oh, by the way, the game will be delayed by 9 months to March 1st, 2023. A delay happening just a month before game's launch is unusual as it is, but switching engines just a month before the game was supposed to come out, that is pretty much unheard of. You can see right here the official statement from Fantastic. They said, millions of people have added the day before to their wish list, making the day before one of the most anticipated games in the world. Feeling and understanding the great responsibility that we face with enormous gratitude in our hearts, we're pleased to announce that the day before is switching to the new Unreal Engine 5 technology. The transition to a more advanced and adapted open world engine will make the gameplay of the day before even more fantastic. In this regard, we inform you that the new release date of the game will be March 1st, 2023. So that's when the cracks first began to show. It was after that announcement was made that we started to see likes to dislikes ratio on the day before videos look like this. That's when people began to grow skeptical about the competence of the development team and just the very nature of the game itself. People also began to question certain practices surrounding the developer. So this right here is a report from wellplay.com.au. Developer for the day before calls for volunteers to help with their projects. This was an article that came out on June 27th, 2022. And it basically talks about how the website for Fantastic and for the day before was updated as of the reporting of this story with a facelift where there was this volunteer page that allowed you to apply to become a volunteer developer, which made it seem like the development studio wanted to save money by taking advantage of volunteering spirit to bring in people to help work on the game without having to pay them. And their excuse at the time was that, well, the volunteers who don't get paid, they're not writing code and they're not part of the development itself, but rather they are managing other important things like moderation, localization, or simply rooting for us and cheering us up. But things like moderation and localization are jobs that game development studios pay for, and this just made it seem like Fantastic wanted to avoid paying workers for certain tasks. 2 days later, on June 29th, 2022, news outlet Eurogamer reached out to Fantastic to ask for further comment on the controversy surrounding this idea of hiring volunteers to do unpaid work. Not only did Fantastic's response statement begin with, essentially the word volunteer comes from the Latin word voluntarius, meaning willing or of one's own choice. They literally started the statement with, the dictionary defines X as, but they also try to emphasize that they have hired quite a few people, and they also touted how recently one of our first volunteers, unpaid volunteers from the Netherlands, became a full-time employee and more will be recruited. Which doesn't help their case because that just makes it seem like they're dangling this carrot in front of volunteers as a way to motivate them to work for free, and among them only a select few will be chosen to become a full-time employee. Such a modus operandi feels like it's rife for abuse and exploitation, where they can get a lot of free work out of motivated volunteers who may not see the rewards of their work, who may not be hired as a full-time employee. So there were still plenty of questions surrounding that practice, but then the studio would go radio silent until the beginning of 2023. It was a radio silence that was deafening because by January 15th, 2023, the game was 6 weeks out from release and we hadn't seen any gameplay. And then finally on Discord, this is what a community manager at the day before Discord posted. We're pleased to inform you that the wait for news regarding our game release is coming to an end. After careful consideration and discussions with our leadership team, we have received approval to share the information you have been eagerly anticipating. This month, we'll be releasing raw gameplay footage as per the numerous requests received from our community. This footage will showcase a majority of the features and gameplay elements requested by our community and will provide a clear glimpse into the current state of development for the day before. We hope you enjoy it. In that period of radio silence between June 2022 and January 2023, people were further questioning whether this game was real, especially because of that unusual delay that happened a month before the initial release date that saw them shift to a completely new engine. People felt like the rug was pulled from under them. And the way this statement was interpreted, as Skilla put it, is that Fantastic is making it sound like they're doing us a special favor by releasing actual gameplay of their video game that's 6 weeks from release, when showing us an accurate representation of a video game before its release date, especially if we haven't seen something for so long and the game is just a few weeks away, is common practice, or should be common practice. There shouldn't be careful consideration and discussions about showing us raw gameplay footage, especially when we haven't seen the game for so long. That should just be a requirement because people want to know what they're buying. As if all of that wasn't enough to stoke the flames of skepticism, another bizarre event happened that made people further question whether the day before is actually just a scam. Skillup tweeted here on January 24th, 2023, the day before has just been delisted from Steam. The developers claim it is a bug relating to Steam maintenance, but it appears as though maintenance has concluded and the title is still nowhere to be seen. No reports of this bug affecting other titles at this point either. This was the tree trunk that broke the camel's back. There was already plenty of skepticism surrounding whether this game was even real, but then to see the game delisted just a couple weeks before its launch, after last time the game was delayed by 9 months, just a couple weeks, just a month before its initial release date, it all just made it seem like the developers didn't have a game to ship, so they're cutting and running. And you can see that the day before is still delisted from Steam. Here's Wayback Machine showing a link to the store page a few months ago. Going to this page now, you can see that such a thing is nowhere to be found. Now, later that day, on January 24th, 2023, the day that the day before was delisted, as speculation began to run rampant, Fantastic finally released the following statement on the night of January 24th, and it reads, "Dear fans, right before the release, Steam blocked our game page at the request of a private individual because of the name the day before. As you know, our game was announced in January of 2021. At the time of the announcement, the day before game trademark was available. After the announcement of the game, the above-mentioned individual filled out an application before us to register the game trademark the day before in the United States. Previously, we were not aware of the existence of claims. We found out about this only on January 19th, 2023, when we received a complaint from him and a request to contact him being the owner of the trademark the day before. Now we find out all the circumstances of the incident and we'll definitely solve everything. We previously planned to post a lengthy gameplay video later this month, but we'll have to sort this issue out first. We will post a video ASAP." So now we're in a situation where the game was delisted from Steam just a couple weeks before launch. The initial claim was that it was a maintenance bug that led to this, and now we're being told it was actually a trademark dispute that led to the day before being delisted from Steam. Also, we have had to make the difficult decision to postpone the game yet again to November 10th, 2023. We understand this may disappoint many of our fans. However, we want to ensure we release the best possible game. For the second time in a row, the day before was delayed significantly by a couple months, just a couple weeks before the intended launch. This is another 8 months long delay, and it made people think that this was just another excuse to keep what was being perceived as a scam at this point going, to keep dragging people along, to do something that was very reminiscent of what Blue Box did with Abandoned, where many people felt like they were dragged along with what was very intentional use of Kojima-style marketing that made people believe it was a Kojima game, only for the game to really not be shown during the times that it was promised to be shown and not released within the time frame that was promised to be released. Again, very similar parallels, to the point where after SkillUp posted the following tweet saying that after earlier claiming the Steam delisting was a bug, Fantastic now say that it was a copyright claim as they had not secured the trademark for the day before. Despite only having received notice of this 6 days ago, the game has now been delayed by an additional 9 months. Somebody responded below, "Is this the sequel to Abandoned?" Spawnwave responded with this. To make matters worse, SkillUp, who's been keeping up with goings-ons in the day before's official Discord, highlighted how the lead mod of that Discord, who earlier announced the upcoming gameplay reveal, has said they now wonder if the game is real. They also confirmed that the mod team have not seen any gameplay. When a development studio's own mod team is questioning the reality of the game, that's obviously going to make everyone question whether this game actually exists. So at this point, all trust was pretty much gone. And as if all that wasn't enough, on January 27th, 2023, news outlet IGN released a statement from Fantastic where it was admitted that the latest delay that came with the announcement that the trademark dispute caused the game to be delisted on Steam was planned before the trademark dispute even happened. Here's exactly what Fantastic told IGN. "We planned to move the game's release before and planned to announce it with the publisher Mitona in a 10-minute gameplay video. And then you all know what happened. So to be on the safe side, to ensure that there are no more transfers, we, along with the publisher, chose November 10th. That is a safe date given the trademark dispute." It's hard to trust that that's a safe date given the numerous times that we've seen last-minute, months-long delays. That's one of the big issues surrounding this game, is the fact that these kinds of substantial delays are announced just a couple weeks before launch when people are gearing up to play this game. So them choosing not to relay this information and make that a top priority, deciding to wait just a couple weeks before the game's launch to try to announce yet another months-long delay and waiting to present that in a 10-minute gameplay video, just a very poor choice. Beyond that, in Fantastic's statement to IGN, the development studio decried allegations and complaints that the day before isn't actually in development, stating that the storm will calm down eventually and time will put everything in its place. When the game comes out, people will finally see the truth. But while we're here, we're grateful for such a fantastic journey and for you being with us. Well, it hasn't been a fantastic journey for the community, and more people are deciding deciding to not be with you. A few other noteworthy quotes include, "We have been creating the game for 4 years. All these years have been full of sweat and blood to make this game, and for many members of our team, it is unpleasant to hear such accusations. We didn't take a penny from people, no crowdfunding, no pre-orders, no donations. The game is fully funded by Mitona, one of the largest mobile publishers in the world, who check the game's build at every milestone per our contract. We feel like that simple guy from the 90s action movies. The hero," yes, Fantastic did really just self-proclaim themselves as heroes, "who breaks through the veil of disbelief when no one believes in him, but he finds the inner strength to win and prove to everyone what he is worth in the end. We only believe in the final product. No matter what anyone says, you'll see for yourself on November 10th this year." They're saying there are going to be no more delays for sure this time. We hope that after the game's success will give people faith that in this life, if you persevere towards the dream, it'll come true despite all the obstacles and doubts. Look, I hope this game is not a scam. I hope there is a substantial game here that's actually fun to play, and I hope that it launches to success, and I hope people end up enjoying it despite a rocky road. But let's not kid ourselves here, Fantastic. You're not some misunderstood hero. You caused the misunderstandings. It's your fault that all this miscommunication happened and that people believe that your game is a scam. Making matters worse is that it was after that whole fiasco that the day before, the development studio decided to release this official gameplay trailer, the one that I showed before that has been heavily downvoted. They released a new trailer that once again showed very similar footage to stuff we've seen before that lacks substance, that looks worse than trailers we've seen in the past. And this comes in after all of the skepticisms that the development team generated with the way they've delayed the game so shortly before launch, and now with the Steam page being delisted and the trademark disputes surrounding this game and all this stuff unraveling. It was just sort of the perfect storm of people deciding enough was enough. And as if all that wasn't enough, on the gaming subreddit, somebody pointed out that the day before and its marketing elements and some of the footage we've seen sure seem to have very familiar imagery. This is just getting weird at this point, says Pat Fury, pointing out the stark similarities between some of the footage we've seen from the day before and footage we've seen from Call of Duty, how the day before and The Last of Us have very similar art, and then more comparisons to other games' artwork that the day before seems to have just straight up copied. On top of all of the other questionable things that I covered, now we're seeing that this development studio seems to lack originality. And it further makes you question whether this game actually exists, and if it does, whether its quality will be something worth writing home about. This Reddit post went viral and was published on February 5th, 2023. 2 days later, on February 7th, Fantastic, frustrated by the kind of discourse that's taking place surrounding their game, published the following. "We all live in a time of disinformation and lack of fact-checking. Anyone can say anything for views, and everyone will believe it. Disinformation needs to be dealt with, as it can harm not only us, but also other indies and small/medium studios. It also has a mental impact on the members of such teams. After the release of the day before, we'll think about how to help novice developers deal with fakes and allocate resources for this. Destroying is easy, creating is difficult." If you ask me, calling this whole situation disinformation is highly inaccurate when so much of the current confusion surrounding the day before and so much of the skepticism comes from the way Fantastic marketed this game, from the way they communicated about this game, from the way they delayed the game twice, weeks before launch, and putting stuff like this out that they're copying from a lot of other source material. That's not disinformation. This is real. Like, you can do the side-by-side comparison yourself and see that there are a lot of similarities between the marketing materials of the day before and the marketing materials of other titles. Somebody aptly responded to Fantastic's statement here by saying, maybe throw out some information or news every so often and not be radio silent for a year and a half, dropping only a 10-minute nothing burger of a gameplay video, and misinformation won't happen. Yeah, I mean, after all of the delays and after how long it's been since the game was first announced, people just expected the developers to give us a more thorough breakdown of their game. And the fact that they're still not able to only generates further skepticism that this game even exists. This Twitter user continues, also, no way you just blamed your fan base for misinformation. That is a classic. Now, this might explain a lot of things. Fantastic responded with, we don't have a marketing department at all. All our resources go to game development, but we'll get better at communications. Thanks. A few more days would pass before we'd get another statement from Fantastic, this time on February 12th, 2023. And they further detailed the whole trademark dispute situation by saying, first Steam and then YouTube removed some of the day before videos from our channel due to a trademark dispute. 3 facts. Number 1, the so-called owner of the rights to the title is the creator of the calendar app, which has nothing to do with the game's category. Number 2, after we announced the game in 2021, he also wanted to take over the title and filed for trademarks ahead of us. And number 3, he ambiguously offers to contact him to discuss something, but what? We'll fight. Power is in the truth. But at this point, the day before community felt like they've been burned so many times that they question whether this trademark dispute is even real, if it isn't just some excuse to further delay this game and to keep the scam going, or what they believe to be a scam. Now, it would turn out that this trademark dispute is actually real. There is, in fact, a calendar app called The Day Before that exists, that is owned by The Day Before Inc. And on February 24th, 2023, New Salad Eurogamer would reach out to the trademark owner and get a statement from them, with this trademark owner confirming that the dispute is, in fact, taking place, that this is not some made-up plot. The trademark dispute is happening with a Korean calendar app of the same name. In response to Eurogamer, the developer of the calendar app has confirmed it holds the trademark rights to the app's name, The Day Before, and is taking measures to protect trademark rights. We first distributed the app under the name The Day Before in 2010 to provide anniversary count app services used in many countries around the world. We hold trademark rights to the app's name The Day Before and have so far recorded over 40 million downloads. Since the trademark registration in Korea in 2015, we have held the right registered in the name of The Day Before. CEO Lee Sun-jae, knowing that the game of the same name was produced, we're taking measures to protect trademark rights. We currently hold trademark rights in Korea, the United States, China, Russia, Japan, Vietnam, and the European Union. We want to solve the trademark problem as soon as possible and continue to protect the app so that users can use it without worrying. So this Korean company is claiming that we have had the trademark for The Day Before for many, many years, long before this game started development, and we have the right to protect that trademark that belongs to us. On the other hand, Fantastic makes the case that because The Day Before calendar app is not related to video games, it shouldn't be a conflict. As a last-ditch measure to save face, Fantastic did upload the following video, uploaded on February 16th, 2023. This is essentially a dev blog where they go through the early phases of The Day Before's development to try to show that this game does exist, that it is real, that it has been in development for a number of years, and showing the way the game evolved in its visual style from something more Fortnite-esque to something more photorealistic. And this is definitely the most insight we've gone into the development of this game, but a lot of bridges have been burned. Likes to dislikes ratio still don't look good, and people are still expressing a lot of skepticism in the comment sections and on social media and whatnot, and are just waiting to see what happens in November. As for what my take on all of this is, I do believe that some kind of build of some kind of game exists, but so far, no footage, no gameplay presentation has really outlined and properly summarized what this game is. Yes, you can shoot. Yes, you can take cover and do stealth and shoot zombies and scavenge stuff and do some survival stuff. You can craft weapons and upgrade weapons. You've got those like gameplay elements, but how does it all come together? What's the gameplay loop? What's the end goal to all of this? What's the ultimate appeal of this game? They have yet to really make a compelling case. At worst, this is all an elaborate scam and we've been led along for years. At best, this team is so inexperienced with many different facets of game development, have chewed on so much more than they can swallow, are so in over their heads that their, for lack of better words, incompetence comes across as them engaging in this elaborate scam. Worst case scenario, this game will never come out. Best case scenario, I feel like if this game does come out, I don't foresee it really making waves as a high quality product. I'm not getting good vibes from this project. A lot of it has been style over substance. I hope they prove me wrong. Hopefully this was just a rocky road for an indie development studio that's just learning as it goes. But when they do launch the game, it'll turn out to be something really awesome. One can hope. But given everything that's transpired surrounding this game, it's hard for me to hold my breath and have high hopes that that's how things will play out. But at the end of the day, only time will tell. In the meantime, though, hopefully this video was informative and you now have a good idea for what this the day before thing is, why there's been so much discourse and confusion surrounding it. And until November, when the game is allegedly meant to launch, if it doesn't get delayed at the last minute again, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the day before. Do you think it's a scam, or do you think it's a project that's just been poorly handled, especially in the marketing communication department? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.